Hello and welcome to Daisies and Dragons. My name is Chirag Ghaznani, the DM for our Broken 12 campaign. We have a special treat for all of you guys. We're having a chat with Anjali Bhimani, well-known voice actress for games such as Overwatch and Apex Legends. We'll be talking to her about D&D, life, storytelling, and her new Kickstarter. I'm fun-sized and so are you. Stay tuned and enjoy. We cannot hear you.
Still?
No, we can't.
Maybe it's a microphone?
No, we can hear her. Chirag, it's your...
I cannot hear Indrani either.
Yeah, it's you.
It might be me.
Yeah.
It might actually be me this time. Okay. It's not you, it's me.
I love 2021.
If I had $1 for every time someone said it's not you, it's me.
You would be very broke.
If only that were true.
Aww.
If only that were true. Hey, you gotta have a lot of heartbreak if you're gonna put yourself out there. It happens.
It's true.
Let me I'll be right back. I'm just gonna take these out.
Sure. But there we go.
Hey!
He's ready.
Wow, that is a transformation. We should have a before and after.
Oh my god.
I'm telling you, every girl should have a good set of rollers.
It's true.
Yeah. I need to break out.
Every girl with hair that's long enough to roll.
Sure. Yeah.
So like almost every other
It makes life so much easier. You're not stuck to a curling iron or a straightening iron. I was stuck to a curling iron for like 30 years. And then I discovered hot rollers and I was like, I can walk the dog in these.
It's true.
And I do.
I mean, the results are just...
they're pretty...
They speak for themselves.
If you do what I do and you put your hair up in a bun, like you have it right now, I put it up in a bun when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And when I wake up, half the time it still looks good. So today it did not. So you got me in rollers.
You know what?
We are blessed.
I feel blessed because of it. I know a little bit of how the magic happens.
You guys, I love that Daisies and Dragons exists. I've been saying Daisies and Dragons for ages. I have been trying to put together streams with Critical Role. I've been trying to do all sorts of things about this for ages. So I love the fact that you have a stream like this. I hope you don't mind that the name has been bandied about for other projects many times, because I think Daisies and Dragons is such an obvious...
Right?
Yeah.
We were coming up with names and we had like a list of 15, 20 names. And I was like, guys, how about we just take the dungeons out and put Daisies in?
It's tried and true. And I feel like everyone can get behind it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your stream.
Well, who wants to take this?
Okay, sure.
You're raising your hand.
Okay, I was more like fluttering, but sure. The stream, the idea behind it kind of originally started with the idea of writing a campaign setting for based on Indian mythology. But while we were trying to figure that out, we kind of were like, okay, but what about just bringing more players to the hobby, right? And the thing is that India's got this massive population, but so few people have access to this hobby or even know about it. So we were like, okay, let's just start by putting familiar faces on streams and trying to play some games that are just, they feel Desi because they're Indians playing it, right? It's not that we're necessarily tackling Indian topics. It's that we are letting our identity be there. And that in itself makes people feel comfortable and familiar.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And that's where we kind of started.
Before you go on, are you recording right now? Because this is something that is perfect for us to talk about. Great. I wanted to make sure you're actually recording.
I am.
We got the rollers and everything.
I think, you got the rollers and everything. Great. Yeah. Make sure you keep it because it's definitely, it's real life, baby. She's the Real Housewife of Hollywood.
A bit more authentic than the Real Housewives.
Yeah, I'm a different version. I'm like the real aunties of Hollywood. Or the real DDs. I shouldn't age myself.
I'd watch that. I'd watch real DDs in Hollywood.
Yeah, thank
you. My DD lives in Hollywood. I'd love to see that.
I love so much that you changed the focus to that, because I think even for those of you who are actually in India, I think it's such an important thing that the world sees us as a combination of all the things that make us us, not just relegated to being able to do things that are specifically involving Indian culture. Because just by the virtue of us being Indian or South Asian or Pakistani or from wherever, just by virtue of us being who we are and having the cultures that we have, we are going to bring that flavor. Just by virtue of us being those things. But what stories can we tell that haven't already been told? What stories can we tell that don't involve Bollywood, that don't involve Indian mythology, that don't involve arranged marriages, which I have had enough of seeing on television. Like Indian culture isn't all about arranged marriages and aunties who only want kids to get married to Indians.
Yeah.
It's not only about that. There's so much more. There's so many more personal stories. There are so many more incredible stories. And because D&D is a storytelling medium, why not tell the most fantastical stories you can that are unique to you because you're you, not specifically because you're Indian. We're Indian. We're going to bring that in automatically. That will never change. And thank God, because it's a beautiful thing. But I'm with you. I love role-playing games so much. And I love bringing people into that world so much because you can bring everything you are to it and then some. And everything that you aspire to be, everything that you want to try being, characters that you're like, there's no way I would act like this in real life, but let me try this on for size and see how this feels.
So
I think that's
sense.
great that's what you guys.
Because
I think that's great.
one of the things that when I started playing D&D, I was like, my first character, I think my first 2 or 3 characters were like a complete need of self-reflection to the point that I wanted to be at. Like my fantasy version of me is just a badass wizard who can do like cool shit. And I walk
right.
But
that's all of us. I think all of us to an extent do that with or maybe not. Maybe some people try out completely different things. But all of my role-playing game characters are aspirational versions of myself.
Right.
And things that I want to be more of. I mean, who doesn't want to do dope monk shit? Who doesn't want to run around being a monk and like being super bad? I want to be a monk in real life. That's why Fy'ra Rai was Fy'ra Rai, because I love that class and I want to be that class in real
Monks
life.
are great.
And then the same thing with other role-playing games that I've played. I did one called We're Alive Frontier for Geek and Sundry that was set sort of in the zombie apocalypse as it were. And my character is essentially who I imagined myself being under those circumstances. She just also happened to be really good at shooting a gun and killing zombies. But I could be. Who knows? I haven't tried it lately.
Yeah.
But the character traits that you bring to it, the soul you bring to your character, I feel like it's such a wonderful way to try on aspects of yourself and step into greater versions of yourself.
I think,
if you aspire to be more confident and you're having trouble putting that out there in the world, it's really fun to play a confident character and see the results of that and feel the joy of that, so you can take that out into the world.
Yeah. It was for me actually, when I was like first starting off playing like D&D just back in high school, I'd play like exaggerated version of like what I want to be like. I remember my first one was a barbarian. He'd be very strong because I always thought I wasn't physically very strong, because that's something I wanted to do. It was great just going faster than everyone. I also noticed like in a lot of the games that I was playing there, like that one was set in everyone, but it was, and other D&D games, it wasn't like, I was already one Indian among everyone else was white, and so I already felt outsider. So, and there wasn't like, every one time I think like, would an Indian fit in the fantasy setting? I would think like it would feel odd. I'd already feel like a sad. So I think that's why I sometimes would pick just things that were already odd ones, like half-orcs and shifters were my favorite one, because I'm like, I already felt that kind of like oddness anyway. So I just like, I always kept being drawn to that, because every time you do like Faerun, every time all the images are, oh, they're from this country, so they have English sounding names, so they must be white, they must be things. So I'm like, I don't want to look that. I want to look like something else.
But now, thank goodness, as time has gone on and the world has changed, and the creators behind so many of these campaigns have kept up. Originally, obviously, in the beginning, Dungeons & Dragons was based in that sort of medieval fantasy world that was very ethnocentrically like white, right?
Yeah.
But we have developed over time, and since more people are playing, there are more stories, there are more storytellers, and there are more campaigns, I think, where it is where people of all different colors and all different backgrounds meld together and come in together. The othering experience, I think all of us have had, right? Whether you are an Indian living in India, or an Indian living in America, or a woman in an all-male campaign, or the one gay person in an all-straight campaign, or whatever. Like there's that feeling of being other, I think, is not a unique feeling. It is just the ways in which we have been made to feel other. Yeah. And so having a game like this where the other is actually really cool. Mm-hmm. The far traveler is so intriguing to meet. That's why Fy'ra Rai, again, like I gave her an accent that didn't come from any one place, because to me she was other, but in a really awesome way. She was a product of all the places she had been. You know, so her accent was a combination of like 10 different accents.
Your character watching Fy'ra Rai inspired me to be like, I kind of want to have something to do with fire genazis in the campaign that we're playing in Everon.
I am in love with fire creatures. So someone was asking me, the other day, Amy Dallin on D&D Beyond and some of the folks on that stream were asking, would you try out any other elements? And I was like,
Ugly works for me.
There's just something about, like, can you imagine being created from a very thing that you have to protect people from?
Yeah.
Like the fact that, I was thinking just the practicality of having fire hair. Like, that's not a practical situation.
No,
you need really hot rollers for that.
You need really hot rollers or really cold rollers.
True.
That's true. Know, or a really fire retardant.
Like a roller with like +1. Can we make a magic item that's just hair rollers for people who have fire hair?
Okay, Indrani, I'm writing this down because I am going to create a magic item. I'm going to create my
but it's got to be called Indrani's rollers.
Indrani's rollers.
Oh my god, that would make my complete.
But no, wait, let's do it. Let's make it even more D&D and call it Rollers of Indrani.
Yes, of course.
Perfect.
I
love it.
Now that you're talking about this actually kind of brings a question to mind. So something that I've been working with. So obviously we are all creators in India over here. And one of the issues that I've noticed when trying to create content that can be sold here is that either it's very glam sham Bollywood, which is very glossy, but lacks any real authenticity to the lived experiences of the majority of people over here. Or it is very gritty and it talks about the kind of the most grim parts of criminal military parts of India, which of course are relevant and should be discussed. Right. But there's no fantasy, there's no sci-fi where you can be like, hey, I'm tackling these themes, these stories that I've grown up with, this escapism that I want to experience. And I feel like that's one thing that D&D can do on a budget. And it's part of my hope for that comes from obviously being able to watch people like you on streams and even in games, right? Just watching Symmetra was a moment of like, right, we can have, this Indian character in the future and this great blend of kind of technology, science, and culture. Right?
Yeah, and well, sorry, let me let you finish asking your question, because what was the specific question? Because I have so many thoughts already.
No, please go. I'm happy to just hear your thoughts. Go for it.
So I hear you on how frustrating that must be to only be able to be, or mostly only see those two sides of things. And I love fantasy fiction and science fiction for a million different reasons and always have. And one of the things that is so special about it as a storytelling medium is that you can and do deal with real life socio-political, religious, all sorts of issues in those fictional worlds. You just deal with it one step to the left, one step to the right, in a way so that people are taking in that information the same way we take in mythology. I mean, if you look at all of the myths of all religions that have more than one god. In the world.
Polytheistic religions, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, polytheistic religions. If you look at all of those traditions, when you look at the gods and the goddesses and the demigods and the titans and whomever, you realize that they are flawed. They are very humanistic. And therefore, when we hear the stories of them and the myths of theirs, we're learning about ourselves. We're learning about pride and hubris and redemption and death and mourning and all of the things. We're learning about the human experience through these stories that are removed from us. And so I think fantasy and science fiction are uniquely suited to deal with important issues because precisely because they're not dealing with them head on. I'm pointing at you with a pencil. Precisely because they are not dealing with them head on, so they're a little bit easier to stomach. Like, I always think of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with it. I grew up with both the Next Generation, with the original and the Next Generation, Voyager, all of it. And what an aspirational world that was. But they were dealing with very important issues and showing struggles that we have today. They were just doing it, but this is in the future. And it's some So we're not pointing a finger at you so you can watch it.
I think what like a larger misconception, at least from what I've noticed with people around me, with sci-fi fantasy is that it can't critique or observe the human condition, right? Like and that just seems
it's not possibly real. What these things
just like, because the setting is out of this world or like unrealistic, that means that the people in it are also that. But like no, they're still people with very human traits, with very human lived experiences.
We also have seen that as the comic book world has evolved, because originally comic book heroes were infallible. And then all of a sudden you end up with the X-Men, where everybody's struggling and trying to figure out how to survive in a world where they are so other, where they have their own issues, where they have failings, where they make mistakes, and then even the DC characters started to become more fallible. And Wonder Woman was created specifically to show feminine power and feminine, the like each one of these media, each one of these have evolved over time to be able to show us more and more of the human condition and more of the world we live in. I do 100% agree with you that it's easy for people to discount, the same way it's easy for people to be like, oh, that's just nerd stuff, or oh, that's just geek stuff. I'm like, dude, nerds and geeks rule the world. And if you think they don't, you haven't been paying attention. Because the most successful innovators in the world, the most successful entrepreneurs in the world are being of service in one way or the other. They are providing a service that no one else did, and they have imaginations that are through the roof. They are able to see possibilities more than the rest of us are. Whether it's and I don't know if he's actually popular in India or not, but whether it's Naveen Jain with his moonshots and all of those things, I think what he's doing is incredible with Biome and all of that stuff. That's almost science fiction. 10 years ago, that would have been science fiction. But it's someone who was willing to see past what is our current reality and say, okay, well, what could be true?
Yeah.
In some alternate universe, what could be true? And
it's weird because to create new things, to innovate, you need inspiration, and inspiration often comes from the imagination of those who would dream the impossible, right? Like
100%.
You need someone to go like, okay, I want faster than light travel, before someone's like, well, that's a thing we should create. It's science and art speak to each other. They don't live in isolation.
Absolutely. And the fact that like anyone who thinks math and science and medicine are not art just didn't pursue them long enough to see past the technique. And because most of us, who don't have to do math stop after high school, like if you don't need it for your career, the real creativity, it was me too. I was like, I'm done with calculus. I passed my calculus.
Glad I'm not the only one here.
Like I can balance my checkbook. I'm good. I'm good at the end of the night when we've gone out to dinner. I can handle the.
You can go Dutch. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But anyone who doesn't realize the amount of creativity that goes into seeing the world and seeing the connection, I mean, it's so obvious to me that at any advanced levels, you can't, of anything, there is artistry to it.
Yeah,
there is absolutely artistry to it. It's just that so many of us get caught up in the technical when we are first learning something that we forget there is a world past the technical. The technical is a means to an end. Just like when you're playing D&D, if you got the books and you got so caught up in I have to learn all these rules, and if for some reason we weren't allowed to use the books or we weren't allowed to go online and use D&D Beyond or whatever, if you got so caught up in that, the game would not be fun.
True. Rules lawyers kill fun.
Wait, hold up. Am I supposed to know the rules? I know I'm the DM, but am I supposed to know the rules?
Yeah.
You guys didn't tell me that.
DM, I think you're supposed to make up the rules. I think that's how that works.
I have a question.
Enough to make it fun for your players.
Yeah, that's
Shabab has a question.
I have a question. So, because I'm excited, obviously, for your book to come out and to be able to read it. So it's because I also feel like it's really topical given the time that we are going through. And it's just because, sorry, you froze for a second. So I was like, oh, damn, I think we lost you. But okay.
You never lose me.
Yeah, true.
Oh, you're awesome.
But yeah, so A, because of the pandemic, but B, also just because of the way the world is shaping out right now. I think a lot of us need that boost of kind of believing in ourselves. So I just want to talk. I just want to know, like, what is something that you kind of learned along the journey to writing this book that allows you to kind of wake up and go, okay, I can do this. I am fun size. I believe in myself.
Well, let me first tell your viewers about this, because I don't know how much they know about it.
Yes.
If you haven't heard about the book.
Thank you. I have written a book called I Am Fun Size and So Are You, Thoughts from a Tiny Human on Living a Giant Life. It is based on, or sort of inspired by, not based on, but is inspired by a web series I started in 2017 on YouTube. And the whole reason I started that web series was because I was so blown away by the artistry and generosity and kindness and support that I was getting from the online community, whether it was through Overwatch or through my other things that were piling up, other not piling up, but other shows that I was doing and other properties. There was so much love being poured out. And for the longest time, I had been letting my own fear of failure combined with my perfectionism keep me from putting something out in the world. Like, I had all these ideas and I just was like, oh, but it's not going to be perfect. So let me wait until it's perfect. And one of the ideas was that I wanted to do some kind of a blog or a vlog for people. So then this one night I asked for a fan art Friday. I was like, yeah, it was a Thursday night. So I'm like, I'll wake up. There'll be a couple of posts. That's great. And then people just came boom, 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 putting out their art, retweeting other people's art. And I was like, okay, you got to get off your ass and just put something out there, because it's not your right to not be of service. It's your job as a human to be putting things out there for other humans. So that's when the web series was born. And I started answering questions from people who wrote in that were specifically more about life and their journeys and their challenges, because the way I see it, if you have access to me directly, ask me things directly. If you can find it out on the internet, don't ask me. You can find out Symmetra's background on the internet. You don't have to ask me in my web series. That's cool. So just recently, people have been asking for years for me to write a book version of this. And recently I finally was like, you know what? It's got to happen. It's got to happen now. So let's do it. And I found that, if anything, I am having trouble stopping the writing, because I keep wanting to add more to the book. And I'm like, the book will never come out if you just keep writing it. Like, if you just you need to, that's one of the reasons why I started the Kickstarter, because I was like, okay, stop writing, start getting this out in the world. And also doing the Kickstarter because, printing a book is expensive. So that's where we're at right now with the book. The book is, I'm in edits for it. So it is not yet at the printers. And because of international supply lines right now, we're finding some challenges with that. But thankfully people have been so kind in this Kickstarter and so kind to jump on board. And the more we can raise, I have some really exciting stretch goals that I feel like I'm not allowed to share until we hit that goal. So I really want to hit that goal also so I can sleep, because I'd really like to get some sleep. But I'd really like to hit that goal so I can offer more things, more aspects of this. So that's a very long explanation. So
I need to tell you. I obviously knew a few weeks ago, like a month or two ago, because we talked about it over Instagram about your Kickstarter. You were like, you need to keep this quiet. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to struggle. I'll do it.
Because I'm not ready.
But I remember watching, I think it was with Gen Con, where you were talking about how you don't need to let good get in the way of good.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Yes. That, and I watched that, and that was a while ago. I think you even put it in the trailer for your channel at some point.
It's like the very first thing in the trailer. Yeah. It's one of the best pieces of advice ever in the history of mankind.
It kind of also is sort of the driving force that sort of pushed me to even approach these guys and be like, hey, I want to be a part of what you guys doing with Daisies and Dragons, because I was like, oh, my camera's not good enough and my mic's not good enough, and no one's gonna want to watch what I'm doing.
Your camera's better than mine. I need to figure out. I really need to get a webcam. Anyway.
The point is, I just created all these mental blocks for myself, and hearing that, I don't even remember how long ago it was that I heard it, sort of made me go yes, fuck it, let's just try. So the morning I woke up, I knew the Kickstarter was out, took my phone out, backed it, I was like, okay, now I can get on with my day because I'm just so excited.
Well, thank you.
This
Thank
is
you
also
so
the
much for that.
point. I should tell you that this whole reason that the four of us are here together is because of Overwatch, and it's because of the game that you helped create.
Oh,
I met Shubham through Overwatch. It was a chance, like, matchmaking thing. They were in a group of 5. I was the 6th player. They really liked me. And then we got on Discord, and now we're great friends. That's how I started playing D&D, and that's why we're here. So, like, you should know that you played a role in making this happen. So,
It's true.
yeah.
Well,
It's a
this
big
is,
part
again,
for
this is
me.
another reason why, even as one of your elder statesmen, I am constantly telling parents and other people, no, you should encourage your kids to play video games. I mean, certain video games. There are some that I'm like, oh, this is scary. I don't want to teach my kids these things. But you should encourage your kids to play games, especially tabletop RPGs, especially things where they get to connect with other people. Because we have the internet. The world is now accessible to us. And especially as we've seen during this pandemic, this has been such a beautiful outlet for connection for people. You know, it doesn't have to be all like Zoom family gatherings. It can be us getting together and enjoying our time together, playing a game and creating characters and creating new content and doing fun things. So I love hearing that. I love that Overwatch brought you guys together in the beginning, and then Dungeons and Dragons is keeping you together.
It's true.
Shubham, I wanted to answer your question though. What have I learned? What's some things that I've learned that kind of keeps me going? Hang on just a second. My husband just came home. I'm going to shut the door because he's beautiful and loud. There we go. Oh, he is the best. He's the best.
Oh, congratulations. It was your anniversary recently, so.
It was, yeah. Thank you so much. It was our anniversary. That's right. I think we've been, I should do math. I just said, I was like, I do math just fine. I was like, what's the math? Yeah, married for 4 years, but known each other for 11 years.
It's crazy. Amazing.
And it still feels like, I mean, it just gets better and better every day. He blows my mind every day with how amazing he is. But again, I digress. Well, one of the things I've learned writing this book is how much I love my husband, because I keep writing about him in the book. But one of the biggest services the series did for me is that it forced me to think about how I do deal with challenges, and if I have not dealt with them well, what are the reasons why? Like, it really gave me an opportunity for self-reflection in a way that wasn't selfish. Because I really think, it sounds so cheesy to say this, but I really think being of service to other people is one of the most important driving forces that we have as human beings. You know, one of our basic needs in the world is the need to connect and to feel loved and to give love. And feeling love without giving love doesn't really happen. Whatever form of love that is, like actually getting the chance to be of service and to give is a very fulfilling thing. And especially when so many of my personal mental and emotional challenges over the years have come from all the thoughts that you get stuck in your head with of, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing well enough, or I'm so behind, or that person's doing better than me, all these things. It's so much simpler to not listen to those voices when your focus is on, how can I help? How can I help? Who needs to hear this today? And how can I say it in a way that will help them? And that's very much why this book was so, and continues to be such a joy to be writing. Because when I'm writing it, it feels like I'm speaking directly to someone. And I've given this advice before for people who were like, I have a hard time streaming, or I have a hard time writing, or whatever. I've said, pick someone in your world, or pick 10 people in your world, and use all of them when you are talking, and pretend that you're talking to them, that there's someone who needs to hear this right now. You know, am I writing this book? When I'm writing this book, a lot of times I'll be writing it thinking of my niece and my nephew.
Right.
Who are young adults on their way out into the world. She's turning 20 on Monday. He's turning, I think he's already 22. Is that true? He's already 22. My God. Like they're out in the world, and they're about to take on the world. But I also know that I've been through some challenges I would love for them not to face. So how can I help in that moment? How can I put some humor in here so that someone who's going through a dark time can still hear it, or at the very least can get a laugh out of it?
Right.
and have me go, dude, I know what you're saying. I'm with you. I know this sucks, but I'm with you. And so being able to do that in book form and in the videos as well, but there's just something different about being able to write it, is a very powerful thing for me. I love writing, and I quite honestly, I just don't do enough of it. I let myself get caught up in all of the tiny tasks of life that feel important but aren't.
Yeah.
Thanks to our gadgets, we have notifications 24/7 and things making us think that they're important that are not really that important.
Yeah.
And what's important are a lot of these messages in this book getting out. What's important is there is someone out there who is struggling to wake up in the morning and feel like their life is for a reason. I want to help that person.
Right.
That's the thing that wakes me up in the morning. That's the reason I get up at 4:00 in the morning and I'm like, this is my quiet time. When no one is awake, the dog won't even get out of bed because it's too early. This is my time to figure out these thoughts before the world intrudes, and be able to put them on paper, or be able to put them in a tweet, or be able to put them in a video, or whatever it is, so that I can actually be useful in the world. This is a sort of legacy that you can continue to offer over time. So that's been like, it's not a new lesson for me, but it has definitely made it even clearer that so much of my own personal purpose on the planet is to help other people find their superpower. And I love asking people, what do you want and how do we get it? How do we do this together? What can we do? How can I help? It can be draining because,
I was just going to point out, like, how do you balance that with, self-preservation?
I don't balance it well. I don't always take my own advice of putting your own oxygen mask on first. And so it really is a constant, you're constantly assessed, just like with anything in life, you're constantly assessing where you're putting your energy, right? And reminding myself that, guess what? You don't have unlimited energy. You think you do, but energy and time, until we figure out a way to deal with alternate realities and stop time and all of the things that I'm sure we can do with quantum physics, energy, time, focus, attention, those are limited resources and we need to spend them in the right places. So it does always break my heart if I see a comment on YouTube or wherever where someone's like, you didn't pay attention and I feel really guilty and I feel really bad. I wrote this really important thing. And I'm like, I'm doing my best. The other thing I realize more and more is the more spread out my focus is, the less I can do for more people. If my focus is in 20 different places, I am not as capable of putting something out that everyone can actually benefit from. So I'm trying to balance that a lot too. I try to return every comment and every email and I really do try to do that. And it's just not possible. But most of all, I've realized that you can't give from an empty well. You can't draw water from an empty well. And so I do have to, unfortunately, not unfortunately, because it's fun, I have to take genuine solo time. Like sometimes I'll check myself into a hotel just to have solo time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it is worth my mental health. And it sounds like such a bougie, like it sounds like a rich person thing to say, but think about the amount of money. Think about the amount of money you lose. Say a hotel room is, I don't know, $150, $200 a night, whatever.
Yeah.
Say it's that much. Think about the amount of time you lose if your mental health is not on point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah.
And then it all of a sudden becomes an investment. If I can take one day a month or in a dream world, one day a week to do that, what gets done because I've replenished myself. There's a wonderful book that someone recommended to me that I've been reading called The Power of Full Engagement. And it's all about that. It's all about athletes do it. Athletes plan their whole day around that 10% of time that they are spending at their events. They plan their whole life conserving and doing things in their lives to make sure that when their energy and their focus and their attention and their strength needs to be on point, it is. But we don't do that for ourselves in our day-to-day lives. We assume that we have unlimited resources to be on 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, some people 16 hours a day. And you got to choose your battles.
It's true.
I think self-care looks different for everyone, right? For you, it's
it
like
really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And I think the word self-care alone, or the hyphenate self-care alone, that has been bandied about for so many different reasons that it's been diluted. There are a lot of words that get put into the zeitgeist and then all of a sudden they get very diluted and you're like, but what does that really mean for me?
Yeah.
You know, because some people will be like, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to show up to your wedding and I'm going to go get a massage because self-care. And I'm like, okay, no, that's not what we're talking about here.
Sure.
We're talking about like, what do you need to do to make sure that you can show up as the best version of you in the world? That to me is what self-care is about. You know, and I talk about emotional hygiene because, you know, we don't think of hygiene as something that is negotiable. Yeah. Hygiene is important. Yeah. How much emotional hygiene do people do where they take care of themselves, or mental hygiene?
Great.
You know, like,
really I love that term. Yeah.
I'm gonna adapt that into my vocabulary now because that's.
But don't dilute it.
I'm putting together a section of the book about it because I realized I was like, oh crap, you didn't talk about that at all, and that's like a huge part of your life.
Yeah, that needs to be in there.
Because I like tricking myself into doing things.
Yeah.
Because my big beautiful brain is really smart and it is really good at getting me out of things. It's really good at negotiating reasons not to do the hard things or the important things. It wants to do only the fun things and only the lazy things. It just that's what my brain wants to do. It wants to keep me alive and comfortable. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you need to do the hard things. So I like to trick my brain by using certain terms that I will pay attention to, and that's one of them.
I like that.
And in this book,
yes,
I am in the process of writing because I'm adding it. And I probably shouldn't say this ahead of time.
Say it anyway.
I am definitely going to talk about some of the incredible lessons that I've learned from playing role-playing games.
Awesome.
Because I think people underestimate the personal growth that can come from it.
Definitely.
You know, I would think that anyone who watched Stranger Things would understand, but if not, I think it's a really a beautiful and very useful thing in creating the life that you want.
True.
One of the stretch goals, if I am not wrong, is a D&D game with you, right?
Well, that's not even one of the stretch goals.
It's a reward. Oh, right. My bad.
Right now, you can get that now. No, the stretch goals are basically once we fund the goal that I will have for the fundraiser after that, because I'm going to add things to the finished product and other things I really want.
I can see you physically struggling to talk about.
Oh my God, like I just so want to be able to do this, and I just need to edge us a little over that amount to be able to do it. But no, some of the higher goals, and two of them involve this, which I'm really excited, involve doing a D&D one shot over, obviously online, so you can be anywhere in the world, with me and my dear friend, the incomparable B. Dave Walters. And if you don't know B. Dave, get online and find him immediately.
Sharag's a big fan. Yep. But I watched your recent episode with him where you guys talked about like creating, and I was just
I could talk with him for like 3 hours. I mean, I could just sit with him for ages. But in addition to being one of the most prolific creators and wonderful DMs, he is also, which is one of the finest humans I meet. I say this quite frequently, that he is one of the bars I hold friends to now. Yeah. And that kind of sucks for new people because the bar is very high. Because he is such a good human. He is such his moral compass, his ethical compass, his generosity, even in times when he has been struggling, he has shown up in ways that some people who are doing great don't. Like he's just an epic human being. And so, yes, at the higher tiers, you can either grab one seat at the table, at the online table, or you can do one for your whole party. And I believe we have it capped at 5 people for a party, because then I would be the 6th, and that's a pretty big party. Yeah. Although how many people do they have at the table at like Critical Role? They do 8?
8. Yeah.
They do 8 players or 7 players?
7 players and that.
Yeah.
I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also that's a 4-hour game.
I see you making that.
Yeah, I might have to add one more tier. We'll think about it. We'll figure it out. So that is an option. I'm really excited about that. I'm really hoping someone buys that, not just because it would be a tremendous gift to the campaign, but because I really want to play. Like,
Of
I
course.
really want this to be fun. I want to meet new people and play. I have a few new characters that I want to try out. And then one other one of the goals that I have up there that I'm very excited about is having the backer getting to be a guest on I Am Fun Size. So they can ask all the questions they want. We will sit and talk, and we will, edit it and get it up on YouTube so people can have their own personal questions answered in real time, which I really enjoy doing. And then for people who can get to LA, I know it's a big hike for those of you in India. For people who can get to LA, we have a tier where I'm doing a in-person visit and hang one-on-one with people. And then the biggest tier, because it's expensive for me, but I really want to do it, is to bring an event to your hometown, wherever COVID restrictions allow me to actually get to.
Sure.
So we have a lot of really cool things, but that D&D, those two D&D tiers.
Have you guys?
And the thing is that I feel like people don't quite get that you can sort of crowdfund. Like, if you're getting a whole table together with your friends, you don't have to pay the full amount. Like, you guys split it up.
Yeah,
you get to split it up and you all get to play together. So that's kind of fun. And same thing with the event in your hometown. I mean, you split that with 100 of your closest friends and it's a whole lot cheaper.
If I had 100 friends, I would. But I've got
that's when you get on it. That's when you get on like a Google group and you're like, anyone want to do this? No. Yeah, but yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm really just excited to bring the book out into the world. I feel like I just want it to be a friend, an additional friend on your nightstand or in your living room or a backpack or whatever, just another resource. It's not going to be some deep, there are so many authors who have written incredible science books, incredible neuroscience books, incredibly in-depth things. This is more something that I want people to be able to flip a page and read, and either read a story or read some words that resonate with them, shut it, and go on with the rest of their day. It's easy, it's fun, and it's got these beautiful illustrations by Vivian Trong that I'm so excited about. My dog Charlie's all over it. I mean, you just can't. I can't with her illustrations. So.
Charlie looks adorable.
Yes, we're big fans of Charlie in here. So
yes.
Did you not love him in the illustration where he had?
So
I did. I saw him. So cute.
Because I'm a knight and he's a bard.
Oh, amazing.
Adorable.
I think one of my struggles often with I don't know what category you would call these books, in self-help books, is that it often feels like the person, because I don't know who I'm speaking to, it feels like I'm struggling to resonate with what they're saying.
And that's all the more reason why this book, I started by being like, hi guys, this is who I am. And I have very specifically written it in a very conversational tone.
Right.
It's not in, all of us have different writing voices that we can write in. Yeah. And when I've written articles for online publications versus when I do interviews versus when I've done this, it's a very different voice. This one is literally like, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation. Yeah. Oh, wow. I remember this time that I was dealing with something like that. Let me tell you about it. And so it's a read that hopefully people will get to, it'll sink in because people can understand the voice of who it's coming from. And that's really my hope.
Like, not only with the videos that you put on your channel so far, but just the way you present yourself to people, like literally anywhere on the internet. Like, having spoken to you briefly over the past few months, like, I just love the kind of vibe and energy that you just exude to people around you. It's always so positive and nurturing. And that just makes me feel so much confident in knowing that, like, the book that I'm going to read when it gets into my hands is going to, like, blow me away, and it's gonna
that means loads to me. That means loads to me. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I just hope it helps people, whether you're in a dark time or a light time. Your life can be going great, and sometimes reading something just helps you see things in a slightly different way and realize, oh wow, I can make it. I can do this new thing that I've been wanting to do for 10 years right now, and I didn't think about it. You don't have to be in a dark place. And I really don't like the self-help term either. Yeah. Right? Because if it was self-help, then I wouldn't be reading about, I would just be doing it myself. Like, it's me. But it is a little bit of like self-reflection, self-development, all of those things. And there's definitely a little bit of humor in there. So, and it's PG-13. It's not for kids. So I should probably say that a lot.
Wait, is it PG-13 or is it not?
It is PG.
It is PG-13.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, it is not G-rated.
Got it.
Indrani doesn't know the difference.
Even those
she's
illustrations might speak otherwise. It is not G.
Got it.
Not a
Amazing.
children's book.
Anjali, what's the deadline on the Kickstarter?
The deadline on the Kickstarter is Halloween, midnight, on
Nice.
Halloween night.
For us
Lots of
Indians, is there a number we can put to that?
Sorry. That's so on Pacific Standard Time, it is October 31st at 11:59 p.m. So that would be 12:30 p.m. on November 1st. 12:29 p.m. on November 1st.
Amazing. I
Well
can
done.
never do time zone conversion that fast.
All right.
That's why I have this phone that tells me what the world clock looks like. So.
all right,
You guys,
peeps.
I have to
Yeah.
run. I'm so sorry because I
Yeah.
I have
No, not at all.
right now that I'm supposed to be on my own channel.
Yes.
But
Thank you so much.
so much for taking
Yes.
the time to chat with me. Anytime you want to do this again, I am here.
Definitely.
I love what you're doing. I love that you're bringing D&D to folks in India and sharing it with the world online. And I just, I love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see more of it. And Indrani, I can't wait to get my dice.
Yes. I'm working on my masters right now, so I can make them for you. Oh, I'm so excited.
But take your time. I'm not in a rush.
Oh, no,
Like they'll show up when
You're
there's
gonna
a-
get
it'll be a
amazing
beautiful
dice.
day, and then
Yeah.
and then I'll be posting them all over the internet. Are those Indrani dice? Kira?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's something else. Okay.
All right.
All right,
Awesome.
well, I will see you guys soon. Anybody
Yes.
who needs to find me, you can find me on the internet. Super easy. Just Google my name.
We will
We're
throw out all the links.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay,
put all the
great.
links for you.
I think all of my socials are Sweet Anj with 3 E's, except Facebook. So, but I'm
Please.
very easy.
Awesome.
Bye.